Welcome to Q&A, Questions Need Answers. I'm your host, James Mungeon. Most people call me Munch. And today, I got my partner. I got somebody I respect a lot. He know my old boy. That means a lot because my old boy did a lot of work and I don't know nothing, okay? I was there, but I was legit, so I don't really understand what was going on. But I have Kenneth Kilpatrick in the house, you know what I'm saying? He's always in the community, always a wealth of knowledge. I think we met during Radical Partners.
Right.
What it was, Leadership Lab?
Yeah, Leadership Lab.
Leadership Lab.
Cohort 2.
2, yeah, and Cohort 2. And we've also done a number of, he's also in the BCNA, with the BCNA, TAP, the alternative programs, and a number of things. So I'll let you introduce yourself, tell everybody, your name, what you do, all that type of stuff.
Well, first, man.
Camera, by the way.
Oh, okay. First, man, thank you for the opportunity to come, man. I love your show, so I feel so privileged to be a part of it. Kenneth Kilpatrick.
I had to have you here.
Huh?
I had to.
Hey, man.
You one of my first people. Like,
hey.
I was like, I got to get Kilpatrick on the show.
No, much appreciated, man. Kenneth Kilpatrick, president of Brownsville Civic Neighborhood Association, BCNA, executive director of the Georgia Ayers Alternative Programs, and a member of the Citizen Independent Transportation Trust for Miami-Dade County. And I think, chair of the Municipal Advisory Committee for North Central Dade. So those are my hats.
All the many hats. I hate when people ask us about it. I'm like, I'm just out here. I'm
right.
just doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So I guess where we start is, I think you started out in Northside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started.
Is that where you met my old boy at? Because I knew my
Yes.
old boy used to work at DCF. Was it DCF in Northside?
No, listen. I met. I don't mean nothing by it. I met the real James Mungeon.
Yeah, I'm the second comer.
Yeah. I met the real James Mungeon in the community, up in Western River.
Okay.
So, him, Bob Moody,
Yeah.
Ivan McCaskill, Cornell Jenkins, all those, Hanif Hamadullah, right? All these guys were together and trying to make things, better. And I was just, in my late 20s, just trying to get, acclimated to stuff. And your dad, man, he didn't play the radio. Your dad was real deal, man. Mm-hmm. He did not play. He was an organizer. He was uncompromising. That's the thing I'll never forget about your dad, man. And that's the thing that I took from him. If I didn't take anything else from James Mungeon, I took do not compromise.
Yeah, that's wild. That's
yeah,
wild.
That's true.
We didn't get that side. We only got because there's stories
that's dead.
And he always told me
Yeah.
that, we put, when it was time to have a family, whatnot, we put all that to the side.
Right.
So he kind of just wrapped it all up. And then you talk to anybody else, they say, after y'all was born, it was no more.
That's true.
You know
That's
what
true,
I'm
man.
saying?
Your dad told us one day, just out the blue, says, man, I'm hanging it up.
Yeah.
I got my family now. And we was like, especially me, and I was like, man, you like Batman.
Yeah.
You can't leave. He's like, man, I got to go.
So what was some of the work that y'all was doing at that time? Or what were some of the things y'all were working on?
So Ivan McCaskill, who was an attorney, man, and he was much older back then, man. Mr. McCaskill had to be in his 70s or something back then in the 90s. We were working on incorporation, right? And so that was McCaskill's dream, and I believe your dad and everybody wanted to see that happen.
Yeah.
But they wanted to see it happen in a certain way. So there were different steps that they were taking, and your dad was instrumental, man, in just making sure that there was a code in the neighborhood. There was a standard, and so that's the thing. That's another thing that I learned from the group, that you have to establish a standard and maintain that standard. So, but like I said, man, the real James Mungeon was
That's
was
wild. I
Yeah.
remember, not to cut you off, but I remember, we was working with Miss Nesbitt, Tony Nighttime, them at the time,
Right.
and they were talking about doing. He made a video about the sidewalk,
Right.
like you got the sidewalk, and then they want the grass on the I forget what they call it
On
before
the
you get to the
swell?
street on the
Yeah,
swell
yeah.
before you get to the street.
Right.
So I remember, like it's little small things I remember him organizing, having like one day you got the mail lady, she delivering the mail. Next day she in the house and they all in the meeting. And I'm like, what's going on in here? You know what I'm saying?
But that's the organizing
Yeah.
that he did, and that the folks around him did, and they poured into us.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, just those little things, man, just making sure that the grass was there,
Yeah.
and making sure that there was a swell,
Yeah.
right? Those are the standards
Yeah.
that you establish. And if nobody does that, you drive down some of these streets, man, in some of these communities, and there's nothing.
It's nothing.
Right? There's no uniformity. There's no sense of community. No nothing. So, people like your dad and others, man, unsung heroes, the everyday people, man, that get out here and make it happen, and that they're not in front of the cameras and they don't get a chance to come in and talk to people like you, but they're doing it every day.
Yeah.
So we got to sometimes salute, those people, man, that do it and hold it down while we out, doing other stuff.
Is that what got you? I guess that was your like first introduction to like, was that like your introduction to like community work and community organizing, or were you doing something before that?
So that's complicated, but so I tell you, my grandfather was a community activist and a businessman in the 40s and the 50s, and so it's a different take on what it means to have social social justice and economic justice when you are running a business doing segregation.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal to see him do that, and to see him as successful as he was. He owned a store in Brownsville. They called it Spick and Span. And his store was next to Neil Adams' store.
Yeah.
Neil Adams was, one of the giants in Brownsville. He was the second black commissioner, ever elected to the BCC. So just to be around folks like that. My granddad died when I was 17. So before I could really get poured into, he was gone.
He was gone, yeah.
Right? And so it was maybe like a 10-year, hiatus. It was nothing. So into my adulthood, I just heard the stories about my granddad. But when I got to Western River and saw those guys, so your dad knows, I saw the activism. I said, all right, this is a chance to actually roll my sleeves up and see if this is something that I can do. Because I wanted to do it because he poured it into me, as much as he could, as much as you could pour into a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, but he was able to convince me. He never knew it, but I was convinced that it was something that I needed to carry on. Once I became of age, and thank God I was able to get a few things moving.
Yeah, me and Isaiah, we just had that conversation on the last episode where we talked about like how, in a subconscious way, we were kind of like, for lack of better terms, groomed into it.
That's right.
Like I said, my dad never like pushed me into like different programs to do civic action. It was like right there in front of my face.
That's right.
So it was like I saw him with the Crime Watch, how they started that from nothing.
That's right.
My aunt and uncle, Yvonne Edwards and Clarence Edwards,
boy.
they were over across the way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you put some names out there.
Yeah.
Now, boy.
So I don't know, I know they was somebody because
Right.
Janet Reno was at the house one day, and I was like, yo, who is that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But Range used to be in the backyard. Like, all these people would be there,
Right.
but you didn't necessarily know it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you didn't know what you were looking at.
We didn't know what we was. They used to keep us in the front room, in the
Right,
living
that's
room. You know
right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
So everybody was in the backyard having their little powwow. We used to be in the front, like, just playing kiki, like, with my cousins. Them, like, it is what it is.
Exactly.
So we didn't really understand and really get to understand what it was.
And it's funny you say that because Georgia Ayers was another one of the people that worked alongside my granddad.
Yeah.
So they worked very closely together. Her family and my family grew up in Railroad Shop.
It's so crazy. I was just going to ask you about that, but go ahead.
So Railroad Shop is where Charles Hadley Park is now, Georgia Ayers Middle School, and Lenore Braining Elementary School and the fire station, all of that right there.
Yeah.
Used to be a small community of Bahamian settlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they had little businesses in there, you know, stores and stuff like that. It was their own community.
Mm-hmm.
But my family lived right behind George Ayers' family, who lived around the corner, maybe a half a block from the Brainings, who lived, you know, across the street from the Bendros Mendengalls,
Yeah.
right? So you got all these people, man, who emerged and did great things out of Railroad Shop. And so there's a comparison in the Cuban community. I don't know if you ever heard of Pedro Pan,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I call Railroad Shop out. That's our Pedro Pan,
Yeah.
right? A Railroad Shop. But everybody was forcibly evicted August 1st, 1947. It was a torrential rain that night, you know. So, you know, my aunt was 7 years old. She turned 7 on August 1st, 1947. So she was evicted on her birthday. She was 7-year-old, getting rained on, thought, you know, couldn't see in front of you, it was raining so bad. So that history, right, to your earlier point, pretty much said, you're going to serve.
Yeah.
You know, when you get older, you're gonna do something. So it was just a matter of what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. Ms. Ayers was around a lot longer than my granddad, so there was always somebody that I could go and talk to and, you know, and get knowledge and wisdom from. And then, you know, right before she passed, she asked me to help to sort of reorganize the alternative programs. And so we went out and handpicked some people, man, and brought the board back together. And thankfully, you know, was able to, you know, build momentum, and now we, you know, in the air, we flying now. But it takes a community, man. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, personalities and people, they come and go. But if I don't have the munches and, you know, if I can't come to a Roots bookstore, you know, there's no community by which to keep it going.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all a camaraderie that has to be in place for it to sustain. So, man, you know, it's really important.
So, you know, you kind of harped on it a little bit, but then you pass over. But I want to know, you said forcibly evicted, because I think a lot of times we don't, you know, we right across the street from Liberty Square.
Right.
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 And it's a modern day thing that happened. They weren't as forcibly evicted, and I want to paint that picture for what that was. You know what I'm saying? And because when you say forcibly evicted, I think people just gonna graze over it.
Yeah, it was eminent domain.
Yeah.
It was eminent domain, and it was the school board that did it.
Yeah.
People think it was the city of Miami. It was in the city of Miami, but it was the school board that told everybody, we need this property, we need to do.
Well, how the school board did it, and they didn't put a school there? Oh, because the schools was around. Well, I get what you're saying. Cause
they eventually they put the 2 schools there. They put Alapata Middle, Alapata Elementary.
What we call Alapata Elementary,
right.
Alapata Middle, yeah.
Right. So
which is now Georgia Ayers.
Yeah, and Lenore Braining.
Yeah.
Which were 2
people
representing families who actually
were in Railroad
Shop and was forcibly evicted. But yeah, so August 1st, 1947. Eminent domain. So the process started maybe about 10 years prior. So you know, it was a slow process, slow burning. And when that day came, there was very little warning. You know, and like I said, that torrential downfall of rain really made it extra bitter for the families that remember. Yeah. You know, and that stuck around after that. But those folks at Railroad Shop, a lot of those folks came out of Coconut Grove.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So Coconut Grove was first, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah. So the Bahamian families, you know, built Miami.
Yes.
Right. So that's that.
Yeah.
Right. And we all know about the 162 incorporators of the city of Miami, who were also building Miami at the same time, right? So Miami really, really belongs to the Bahamians, in more ways than people
And-
realize.
And truth be told, from research from, I want to shout out Profiles in Miami. I
Yeah.
think it's like Profiles in Black Miami. They uncovered that the Bahamians, they did a whole presentation. Shout out to Metris Batts, who's over at the Miami Women's Club.
Right.
And she was saying what they said during the presentation, that a lot of Bahamians wasn't going for the incorporation. They had already seen the play, and they were like, nope, we're not going for it. So it's really a lot of migrant workers who actually sign their names on the paper because, you know what I'm saying? And then later, that's why they can try to make the claim that Bahamians wasn't here, whatever they trying to do now and erase the history, but we know what it is.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
So fast forward, you talk about Georgia Ayers and you talk about the restructuring of the company. How did you, what is the Georgia Ayers alternative programs, and how did y'all go about, just talk about that restructuring process? Because tell us about Georgia Ayers, because people don't know who Georgia Ayers is.
So Georgia Ayers, man, I got a video. I got to let you see it, man.
Yeah.
They interviewing Georgia Ayers about police community relations and stuff like that. And they said to her, if somebody, she said she was in the training, she went to Atlanta. It was a nonviolence, like MLK type training.
Mm-hmm.
And they told her, if somebody spits on you, you turn the other cheek, you lock arms and you keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia said it. She got up and walked out when they said that. And they said, well, what's wrong, Georgia? She said, well, if somebody spits on me, I'm spitting on them back. And if they jaws turn, when they turn back that way, they're gonna see my fist coming too. Right? So that was Georgia Ayers. Yeah. She was tough, man.
Yeah, one time I met her.
Yeah, man. So in the late 60s, like 69, 70, there was a riot, real bad riot here in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
She was out on the streets then. She was telling, young black men, hey man, get off the streets, put those guns down or whatever, stop that looting, you're gonna get killed, that kind of stuff.
Was that the riot, when you say the 60s, was that the riot?
No, this was before the McDuffie riot.
This was the one that was post MLK?
No, that was just right before,
Like 68?
Right.
Around that time, yeah.
Right, that's when the whole country was on fire.
Yeah.
The whole country was on fire. But in 1980, when Arthur McDuffie, the businessman, was murdered by those police officers, there was a few economic and social responses that were warranted, because the folks in Miami, the black folks in Miami, they were already boiling. It was like a slow simmer.
Yeah.
And everything is interconnected. Like if you look at what was going on in Washington back in the late 60s when the Model Cities program was created, right?
Yeah.
That was 1966.
Yes.
Right? And then 68, the White House launches the Model Cities program, right? The whole thing. But in 74, Nixon defunds the Model City program. It's still on the books. Yeah. But there was no money. Yeah. Right? And then around 74, they create the CDBG program and all the other programs that you see. Now that HUD sends down to different cities and stuff like that. But it was not like the Model Cities program. The Model Cities program was real empowerment because it was an administering board, right? And that board had real authority. It was like a tsunami of resources and money. And that board had great authority to put projects and money on the street and put people to work. So the government started alleging about, there was corruption in some of the boards around the country and all this kind of stuff. And people don't know too, they had Model City programs overseas. Yeah, that's how deep Model Cities were. They got Model Cities, so you go to England or somewhere, you might run into some folks could tell you about their Model City program.
So I always bring up the point that Model Cities was in Atlanta, right? When Maynard Jackson was over it. So, from your view, what was the biggest difference between like what was happening in Atlanta and what was happening here? Because we see what happened with Atlanta and the airport expansion, the contracts. What are some things that that we could take away from that?
Well, first off, it's my understanding that a lot of the blacks that are in Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
came from Miami,
Yeah.
right? So, there's always been a very powerful, entrepreneurial, and a very intellectual spirit that lingered and thrived in Black Miami.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that there's always an effort to sort of, put the Billy Club to anything that we try and come together and do. Just like today, the things that we're trying to do today,
Mm-hmm.
we face the Billy Club.
Yeah.
But what the folks did and said, well, I like to call them, the Miami, transfers, right? They went up to Atlanta and did what they should have done in Miami. But you can't blame folks, who are just trying to make a better life and a better way for themselves and so forth. When the programs began to really rev up, so remember, 74, you had model cities defunded, and you had, instead of this this conglomerate of people who could sit down together and with all this authority, right, began to revitalize their community. What Nixon did in 74 is he diced up the model city program into 1,000 different programs, right? So if you go right now, you look at HUD, you see how many funding programs they have. They have hundreds. You make your head spin.
But the bureaucracy held up all the money.
Correct. So you got to be at the top. You got to be one of those planners, administrators, and in those offices to be able to know how to even bring 6 or 7 of them together, right? More or less hundreds of them together. So it's impossible for the community to do what they were able to do back then, right? So the blacks in Miami again had this opportunity and had the momentum. Going into 1980, McDuffie happened, and when McDuffie happened, at the same time the Mario boat lift
was going
happened.
on. Yeah.
Right? So that was pretty much the dagger. Nobody knew it, that's what it was, but that's, those two
Things competing and things happening at the same time.
and it all benefited everybody but us.
Yeah.
Right? So we didn't drop the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right? We were here, and we were abandoned, very much like the Cubans were abandoned in Bay of Pigs.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the same comparison, blow to blow, because those folks were killed when they were left for dead. But if you look at the bigger picture of what happened to us in the next decade, from 1980 to 1990 and then into the 90s, you're talking about the cocaine cowboys and all that stuff that happened, right?
It's your fault, Ricky. What you say? Say it again.
When you start talking about the cocaine cowboys and the wild 1980s and all the cocaine that came through our community, unfortunately, man, that became, the hope of a lot of our young, black men, right? Especially right here in Liberty Square. Liberty Square wasn't like that until the 80s, man. The 80s is what turned it out and turned our families on each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But every time you see a documentary, about all the glory that the Hispanics came, the Colombians and the this and that and so forth. They came over here and they made it. It's almost like like some success, like some American dream story.
Yeah.
But they don't tell the story of what happened to the blacks.
Yeah.
And the black families. Time. Yeah, man, it devastated black families. And like I said, and another thing that was happening at the same time was, the government was saying, okay, here's a household needs to be, females, right?
Yeah.
So the men had to get out the house, the whole thing, in order for, to
get the welfare dollars,
in order for you to get the government benefits.
Yeah.
And so that was a perfect storm, that really decimated Black Miami in particular.
Yeah.
So just and I'm not trying to make excuses.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that,
These are conditions that was created, that led to, the demise of the neighborhood.
think about it. If the same black man can take his family to Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
and go six figures and start businesses and do all this stuff, and in Miami he's on welfare with his family and so forth. He can't get, he can't get help.
And he can't even be in the same house.
So which one would you do?
Yeah.
Right? Same person, like that old movie Trading Places,
Yeah.
right, with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd, right?
Mhm.
Well, let me put you in this spot. Let me see what you do. Let
Yeah.
me put a silver spoon in your mouth and see how far,
Yeah.
let me see you sit down and do nothing, right? So, it's like that.
Yeah. So going back to Georgia Ayers, why? I we hear the stories. We went to the 40th, what is it, 40th
Yeah, the 40th
anniversary
anniversary.
of
40 years.
of alternative programs
Yeah.
being here. So
Yeah.
how did alternative programs start?
So again, after the 1980 riots, one of the responses to the riot was a criminal justice answer. So a lot of ex-offender programs were consolidated by Janet Reno.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Ayers was already on the street, so they knew and trusted Ms. Ayers. The police trusted her, Janet Reno trusted her, and they knew her heart was in the right place. So Janet Reno had one of her senior state assistant state attorneys. His name was Thomas Peterson. He went on to become a judge and then a senior judge. But Tom Peterson was very, very smart, right? And so he got with Georgia. They wrote the alternative programs. And in 1982, it launched as a pilot program and ran for 4 years. And then 1986, they incorporated it. And then it's been running from 86 to now, which is why here in 2026, this is our 40-year anniversary. So, but the program, without going, through the spiel, just rehearse stuff I always do, right? I let my hair down around you a little bit, man. But what the program does, man, is basically it prevents people from being charged and convicted of a felony that's nonviolent,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you commit a nonviolent offense, you get convicted of a felony, they're going to look at you the same as, whether it was, violent or not. They're going to see the felony conviction, and, you're going to have the same, impediments to work, to, school, housing, right? All of these things, right? So, and this was the outcry before McDuffie riots, or it was a part of it, right? There was the criminal justice system, there's inequities in economic, social programs, you name it.
Yeah.
So, and Jimmy Carter was doing a lot, before he got voted out.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he got voted out. You just never know. But anyway, the program, again, provides those alternatives to incarceration, right? And it's again, for nonviolent offenders, if you commit a second or third degree felony offense, you are qualified for the program. Barring any, previous capital convictions or anything like that, you're good to go. So there's a long-standing relationship with TAP in the criminal justice system. TAP had one of the first alternative schools in the history of Dade County.
Okay.
It was the Last Chance program, and then back then Ms. Ayers was working very closely with the governors and Hillary Clinton and all that kind of stuff. So Hillary Clinton came down and she named another school after Hillary Clinton, right? So a lot of work with juveniles, a lot of work with adults. So we're still doing that on both ends. We're still helping our youth, and we're still helping individuals who need to get back to work and get back to their families. So just proud to do the work.
Was the Georgia Ayers Alternative Program one of the, would you say was one of the first diversion programs in the country, or was it diversion programs before then?
Yeah, there were diversion programs before then.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, The same guy, Tom Peterson,
Mm-hmm.
he started pretrial services
Okay.
in Dade County
Okay.
when he was a Vista volunteer.
Okay.
So in 1966, pretrial services started here in Dade County because of Tom Peterson. So he already knew what to do.
What to do.
And so it's good you bring that up because folks who understand pretrial services may look at TAP and say, well, that's just another competing pretrial. But what TAP does is we provide wraparound social services once the person is released. Right? If you get pretrial services, you either pay a bond or you pay a little fee, and you get back here for your arraignment. You get back here, you show up or you're in trouble, right? But with us, once you're released, we do an assessment. We do intakes. We find out why you committed that crime. Is there something going on with your children that we can help out with? You know what I mean? Without exposing those kids to the system at all, right? And we really don't want to expose the adults to the system anymore. They've been exposed, so those wraparound services are not, ball and chain and ankle monitors. It's none of that stuff, right? So we want to do all that we can to try and get them back into the community to strengthen the community. So the social services aspect of what TAP does is the big difference between a lot of some of the diversion programs that are out there. And plus we get we help a lot of individuals who are homeless, and which a lot of diversion programs don't really want to touch.
Oh, that's dope. That's good to know because, when I think about the criminal justice system, I think about that's plagued us for a number of years. And so when you think about the juveniles, from your view, when you think about, do y'all work with juveniles too as well, or just juveniles and adults? What are some of the biggest things, what's the biggest things that you see from your purview?
So, with our kids, man, it's the same thing that we saw when we were kids, right? There's a lack of parental leadership. There could be a sibling that's influencing the kid, to kind of to stray away. It could be, just other people in the community that's making them feel left out. They're just the typical psychological ploys that we try and get the kids to overcome. It's about strengthening the mindset so that you can be competitive, in the world once you get out of school. And if that means that maybe sometimes that first obstacle is getting out of school. And then with the adults, man, especially here in Dade County, the affordability, man, just to be able to, to pay your rent, to pay your bills, so a lot of people are just kind of doing whatever, just to try and make it. You got county employees, that are on the street, so it's really a lot worse than what people, are willing to sound the alarm about. But we see a lot of it firsthand because folks are, being charged for these minuscule, offenses just because, where else do I go? What do I do? Right? So, again, we just seeing that. And so that's one of the reasons, too, why we thought it was real important to have a program in place that would, like if we get a mother, we get a woman, right? We'll ask, do you have children? And if they say yes, would you like to bring your son or your daughter, in? Won't expose them to the system, I promise. Let us just talk to them. You find out sometimes that those children are, traumatized and triggered by the fact that the parents have been arrested, and then there's the whole, stigma that comes with that. So there's a lot of different things that we have to deal with. We have to, pull together and try and heal. Yeah.
So it's so crazy. Miss Bonita just walked in. But I was just literally about to ask you
that's
about
my hero right there.
about judges and how important. Like how does that? Because I'm really like a novice when it comes to criminal justice system. Like I stay out of trouble. Okay. So I don't know. So how important is it to have like the right judges. And like, can you explain like how our courts kind of work in a way since you've been in it?
Well, in terms of how it works a lot of different ways. I can tell you why it's important to have the right judges in place. Because I think what we know more so is how it can betray us, right? So, you know, if we're in court and, you know, we're before a judge, that judge starts to give you this aura, right? And that aura begins to get you angry. You know, I've seen people
Crash out.
just pop off on the judge, right? And maybe
good.
they were going to get a year, 2 years, and the judge says, "Oh, okay, good. You know, I'm going to give you 20 years." And so, you know, the gap between the have and have-nots is in those moments. You know, because if a person has the resources, you know, they ain't, you know, you can tell me I'm going to get 20 years, but my attorney's going to come in here and tear everybody up, right? But to avoid that, we need to be paying attention to who's running for judge, right? We need to be paying attention to what their platforms are, and if they are a judge running for re-election, what they have done while they are on the bench. And so if we watch that very closely, we will find that less and less of the draconian type convictions and sentencing will happen. But we have to keep our eye on the ball. There's a huge elections cycle that's out here right now. Everybody's talking about the congressional race.
Yeah, but ain't nobody talking about the judges right now.
Nobody's talking about the judges race. There are 3 African Americans who are running for judge right now, and it's imperative that we support them. I'm in the system, so I know it and I see it. So we talked about TAP and all that it does, but guess what? Diversion programs are discretionary, right? You don't necessarily have a right to be diverted. You commit a crime, the law says you go to jail.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about knowing who's before you, right? Especially when you're running, right? You got somebody running for office. You know that person is in the community, of the community. Attorney Bonita Jones Peabody, she's like a veteran. She's a legal eagle. She's one of the best attorneys probably in Florida, and that's a well-kept secret for some reason. No, she's got hundreds of hours, trial hours, right? You got a lot of people running for judges, a lot of people who have been judges and who are judges who never tried a case or who barely tried a case. She's tried all kinds of, and she's practiced law across the spectrum. So a person like that, as an example, is a person that you want to have on the bench, right? Because when people walk into the courtroom that look like you and I, right? If there is no one there who understands the village, there can be no justice. There can only be stereotype.
Yeah.
Because that's all they know. I remember, and this came out of the McDuffie riots too. Dr. Barbara Carey Schuler sponsored legislation to have psychological training for the psychological exams, not training, but the training too. But the exams were in place after that legislation, after McDuffie riots, to find out what are you thinking, right? Who are you, right? That's very important. That kind of stuff is at the core of why you got arrested, why I got arrested, why she got arrested. Why'd you arrest him in the first place? Because you don't have that cultural sensitivity, right? So in the judiciary, it's pivotal. In law enforcement, it's pivotal. down to your corrections officers, down every aspect of criminal justice. We need to be represented because we're so impacted
by it.
By it. Yeah.
So just to transition a little bit, I want to talk about like your work on. What is the official title with is it the Transportation Board?
Oh, the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that exactly?
So in 2002, the voters went to the polls countywide and said, we wanna give a half penny for every dollars of sales tax that we pay, and we want it to go just into transportation to improve transportation systems from Florida City to County Line Road. So there were 6 corridors that were identified that were supposed to benefit from that. And one of them was the North Corridor, which was to take Metro Rail from the Martin Luther King Station on 27th Avenue and 66th Street all the way to County Line Road, past the stadium to County Line. And then you had the South Dade corridor, you had the Northeast corridor, which is Aventura, the East-West with FIU, going west going east into like downtown area. So you had all these different corridors that were identified by that half penny tax. So what the commission did was they put together a independent transportation trust to oversee how the dollars are spent and to make sure that the dollars are going where they're supposed to go. So that's what the CITT is, and that's what we do.
So it's interesting you brought up that because the other night at the town hall, and me and you've had conversations about because when they originally did the transit system, it was supposed to go to county lines, right, in the first place. And so why haven't we gotten that? Why that never came to fruition?
A lack of community rallying and support. And so one of the things that you'll notice about where the money goes in Dade County is, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, what happens a lot is you go down to the commission meetings. It could be the city of Miami. It could be Miami-Dade County. Doesn't matter where you go. We're not there. And other people are there, and they're screaming for the money, and they get the money. There was a time when we used to do it, and in the 80s, the folks would get the buses and they charter the buses, NAACP and the churches go down there together and they light them up. But that's not happening anymore. But the Metro Rail to County Line was a plan that was launched in 1978. So even when we were active, it's still we got right. So we got something. We got Metro Rail, again up to Martin Luther King Station, and then the rail went north to about 77th Street.
Yeah.
And then it got diverted.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, in 1986. So, and there are no straight answers as to why the county did that.
Yeah.
But I know we should have raised hell like, nobody thought in a million years that, we'd be here. We are 46 years later, 50 years later, and they never made that right. And so being on the trust, I'm getting the reports, and, these meetings are open to the public, by the way. So instead of no African Americans or nobody from Black Miami being at the Transportation Trust meetings, it could be overrun by us at the Transportation Trust meetings, right? And we could be saying, listen, you guys have spent over $100 million on planning, just planning, right? And then, there are these processes and these rules about, well, if your plan's not done by this time, that plan is old, and so you have to renew, you have to start over again. And then in the middle of the planning, somebody comes up with a new idea. Well, you know what, why don't we do something different? Well, that triggers a restart of the planning again.
Yeah.
So they've been doing that since the half penny tax was adopted in 2002. That's 24 years ago. They've been doing it for 24 years.
It's crazy you brought up that fact because it seems like that's been a revolving thing in the black community, whether it's charrettes that have been done. We got like 5-6 charrettes for Brownsville, model cities, Liberty City. They say the community don't come together. The community comes together, we do a plan. They don't fulfill nothing in the plan. Then they come with a new plan and say a new initiative and say, oh, we need y'all to come together to do this plan. And it seemed like that's what's happening now. And then going into the MAC, that's where we at now with the MAC, right? Where like we dealing with the property tax situation. So what, from my view, and I'm gonna say it because I know you probably can't say it, but from my view, when I went to the meeting, the last meeting we had, the Office of Management and Budget, basically saying we can't give you numbers because we don't know what the property tax, the outcome of this property tax amendment bill is going to be, and so we can't tell you how much you would be getting XYZ. Right. So it's holding up the process, but y'all won't know that until after the election, which is what, November?
Right.
And then, so that means you got a month, that's holiday season, and then the process to find out whether we should go through with the MAC or not ends in January.
Correct. So, and that's a great point. In times like these, we have to be resilient, right? We can't rely on the county to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. Right. I think the county stands to lose a lot of money, or they say it, or they believe that that's the case. People like I've heard, one of the candidates say from the dais that this whole notion of the county losing money as a result of an area incorporating is wrong. Mm-hmm. So, and Dennis Moss came to one of our meetings and said it himself. Yeah. So I think it's about, for us, we have to come together and we have to stand in this moment. There are 9 cities across the country that operate without property taxes, right? One of them, the name of one of the cities is Gun Barrel. That's the name of the city.
Where is that? Mississippi somewhere?
Guess where it is. I think it's Arizona.
Oh wow!
But yeah, but there are 9 cities that have it, and I think everybody who's really paying attention to that ball can kind of understand. Okay, well, if we're not paying property taxes, then we're probably going to pay a lot more, a higher sales tax. Yeah. Right. So if the sales tax is at 6%, that may double, right, to take up the gap of what you're not going to pay in property taxes. But the bigger picture is, the lack of cooperation to get this particular MAC off the ground. This Municipal Advisory Committee is something that the community should have been up in arms, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. This MAC has been in place for about 25 years, for about as long as the transportation tax has been around.
I mean, you even alluded to it like when we first started talking about my old boy and them, he was even talking about doing incorporation.
That's right. And so they got it to the point of Municipal Advisory Committee under Matt Samuel, back in 2002. But if you don't have the leaders, if the leaders don't want it, then you're not going to get the cooperation of the county. If the leaders want it, if the commissioners want it, the mayor want it, then you'll get the cooperation. So you know what? You guys need to see this is the real numbers. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. People are up in arms. Oh, we can't afford it. We don't have the money. Okay, but you forgot that Liberty City, Overtown, and Little Haiti is in a municipality. Mm-hmm. Are any of those people dying? Yeah. Are they moving out because they can't afford the property taxes? Mm-hmm. And if they're not, then that's your telltale sign that folks are just, it's there's a lot of propaganda and just a lot of, just baloney out there that folks don't want you to control it yourself. They don't want you to control your tax base. They don't want you to see dilapidated almost, a couple miles and miles of dilapidated warehouse and industrial districts that could be transformed. They don't want you to have the same vision that the folks in Wynwood had.
Yeah.
Because that's what Wynwood was.
Yeah,
Wynwood
was just an industrial little district.
Yeah, but it was nothing.
Yeah.
And Wynwood was graffiti everywhere. All you had was Austin Burke and this little store where you could get these little videos, these movies.
Was it true that was a bid, and they were talking about? I heard a story that Wynwood started off as a bid, like a business improvement district along that 2nd Avenue corridor.
Yeah.
And that Carrie P. Meek had warned them that you can't fund one side without funding the other side.
Right.
And because they were going to fund, and if you notice, they still ended up developing everything east of 2nd Avenue.
2nd Avenue, yeah.
And west of 2nd Avenue, it's still not as developed as everything
as the east side.
As the east side.
Right. Yeah. So that's typical, man. That's how it works. And I think the difference is in our community that we can actually take charge of that ourselves and not be in the bullseye.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to be in the bullseye if we don't control the zoning and the land use decisions, along that long stretch of industrial that is right now just unorganized. It's just sitting there dilapidated. It's just sitting there underutilized. And if we can turn, if you can come to 15th Avenue and create this beautiful bookstore, right? You can also create industrial and development districts along that same corridor. When the city of Hialeah wanted to come and annex portions of Brownsville, 90% of that was industrial.
Yeah.
They want the warehouses.
Yeah, they want the warehouses.
Yeah, because they have a plan.
Yeah.
Now you ride through there right now, you can see some of that. You can see some of what they want to do.
What they want to do. Yeah.
Right there, 37th Avenue in Brownsville, between 54th and 46th Street.
Yeah.
Right down there. You can ride. You can take 37th Avenue all the way out to 36th Street.
I take 46 on the way to Home Depot over there.
There you go.
Yeah, and
so
I see it.
So you can see what they did at 37th Avenue. They have vision, right? So it's not about beating up anybody. It's not about picking on you got this thing against Hialeah. No, it's I love us. If you can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
The same model city designations that went all the way to 37th Avenue enabled some people to go in and buy those warehouses and sit on them and get the tax credits and sit on those tax credits. And now you're ready to turn it into a downtown Harlem or whatever. You can do that because of the incentives that were there. So my beef has always been, you took advantage of the tax credits and all the tax incentives that Model City bought you so that you could do what you wanted to do out to 37th Avenue, but it was the people who lived east of 37th Avenue in poverty that created the tax incentives.
Tax incentives for
So
you.
that's who should take advantage of it. It shouldn't just be you, right? You own it, fine, but you need to do business with the ones who created the opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. The greatest disparity study happening in Dade County right now is the North Central Dade Municipal Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
If we can't see the disparities between 34 other cities and all the things that cities get, and all of the incentives and, again, the tax credits and tax incentives, all the industrial districts, entertainment districts, you name it, if we can't take advantage of that for ourselves, we can't see that we don't have it, it's in our neighborhoods, right? And nobody's coming to save us, as we can see.
Yeah.
Right? And when we stand up to save ourselves, we get opposed, right? And that's not supposed to discourage us. We're supposed to know that, your enemy is not going to want to see you thrive.
Yeah.
They want you to stay dumb, deaf, and whatever.
Blind,
They don't.
stupid.
Yeah. They don't want you to stand up and take control of the neighborhoods, and they especially don't want you to know that you created the opportunities that's on the west side, all the west side from 112 all the way up to the Gratney Expressway, and past that, until you touch the city of Opelika.
Yeah.
So so this is our opportunity. This is our moment. And if we don't take advantage of it, then unfortunately we get what we deserve.
All right. So in closing, I think the question I want to ask is, for the younger folks that's here with us, people like myself, what could we do to, make it better? And how do we? Because in my heart of hearts, I want to sit down and have a lot of the folks who've been around to sit here and impart this knowledge on us, so we know how to maneuver going forward. Because we don't be knowing, like a lot of folks, I know some of it, but I don't know all of it. And we want to, this bookstore being here, we want to be able to create that space for y'all to come in, share the knowledge with us, so that we can move forward. I'm a firm believer in the principle of Sankofa. We can't go forward if we don't learn from the past.
That's right.
And so, in closing, what would that look like, and what should it look like? What do you envision, Black Miami looking like in the future?
So,
given the development and the changes we already experiencing.
So I think we have about maybe a 5-year window, and that may be generous. To come together. What I love about your generation and even folks that are younger than you, I forget all the names, X, Z.
All
I
don't even focus on it. That's just usually dividers sometimes.
Right. So, but what I love about the young folks today is that they have a resilience that I didn't necessarily see in my generation, right? And no knock on my generation. I think my generation is just as great as any other. But with that is a tremendous opportunity to get with folks like myself, folks older than me, who know more than I know, right? And create a collaborative and stick to it. A lot of us are misguided. We get into politics, and the politics are very, it's very, what's the word? I don't know. It's polarizing.
Yeah.
Right. There's no middle ground. So
it's either you're progressive or you're conservative.
It's either far left or you're far right. Right. And that polarizes people who may want a little bit of both, right? So that middle ground, there's no place for you. A lot of folks don't want to get involved because of that. So we have to create a tolerance. I tell people that, white communities are too big to lose. The white Democrat lives next door to the white Republican, right? In our neighborhoods, we assume everybody's Democrat, which is fine, right? But if it's not, right? If we have to learn to create an environment where we can thrive like other communities. The Cuban community has people on both sides of the aisle that are, tremendous.
Fighting for the interest.
Fight for the interest. So if a white community if it's time to put somebody in office, the differences in debates are always, regulation versus deregulation, this philosophy versus that philosophy, but the economic plan is sound. And it is uniform. So it doesn't matter who wins in some of the bigger white communities. It doesn't matter who wins. They're going to get the money. They're going to get it. Because, my kids go to your school, your kids go to my, it's like that, right? We all go to the same PTA. We all, it's the same community. So we have to create a bigger umbrella, and we have to get young people involved that may not want to be, extreme. Well, we know it's nobody wants to be extreme right. I won't say nobody, but less than 1%. But there may be people who don't want to go far left, right? And I'm not saying politics is the answer.
No,
I'm just saying to you that
we got to be engaged at some point.
But the most important answer to that is the fact that your generation and those behind you have a greater potential to lift Black Miami than those in front, right? Those in front of you. And so if we can find a way, and listen, I'm always wide open to, to come in and dialogue and plan and whatever we need to do. Whatever I know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's a lot of fragmentation in our community. Fragmentation is a tool of our enemy.
Yes.
Right? Our enemy can come in because we are so fragmented, and because with that fragmentation brings poverty.
Yeah.
I can come in and just, hand out a couple dollars here and there and so forth. And certainly this person becomes an agitator. This person becomes something. You're flipping tables over in meetings when we gotta, get stuff done, right? Yeah. And so we have to get smarter about how we move the needle. If we do that, we can win because we have the talent. Just this bookstore is the evidence, right? It's the telltale, right? This is 15th Avenue. Mm-hmm. I don't know if y'all know where 15th Avenue used to be.
Yeah,
y'all know where 15th Avenue used to be?
To us, we don't talk about nefarious things, but we acknowledge that this was a Black business district at one point.
All right.
So go and talk about it, Ken.
No. I ain't going to that. I'll let the documentaries handle that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the business was so bustling on 15th Avenue at one point, they built that police station right there on 10th Avenue and 62nd Street just to make sure that the business didn't, get too out of hand. So at the end of the day, man, our potential, it's always, in the best interest of our enemy to misguide our potential and to dangle carrots low hanging where you don't have to, work too hard for it, that kind of stuff. We have to, if we put just a little bit of elbow grease into something, man, mm-hmm. we'll turn it around. We're that talented. We're that smart. There's 1 million attorneys down here. There's probably 1,000 Black millionaires mm-hmm. in Miami, mm-hmm. in South Florida, mm-hmm. and that's a fact. But nobody talks to each other. We're not talking to each other. We're not bringing it together, right? And if we don't turn, and we got, like I said, we got 3, maybe 5 years left to make that decision. Because we're being wiped out. Brownsville is one of the last standing to the south of 79th Street, and then Miami Gardens is holding on. Opelika is trying to hold on. North Miami's trying to hold on, right? But we're gonna lose it all if we don't come up with a comprehensive strategy.
Well, I appreciate you for coming through. Checking in,
yes, sir.
Imparting knowledge. It's not every day, you
the
get
main man.
How you come through
yes,
and check in, especially, I've been dying. Like one of the things was I've been dying to ask you, because you're one of the few people that knew who my dad was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And nobody, like he always would be like, ask Kilpatrick. When he was still alive, he would be like, ask Kilpatrick or what's his name? Oliver Gross?
Yeah, Oliver Gross, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, ask him. And I'd be like, or Rodney. And I'd be like, Ask them what? You
Man.
gotta know what question to ask.
Yeah, let me tell you. It took going into a meeting, man, with your dad and see him go slap off in a meeting.
Now y'all know where I get
let me
it
tell you
from.
something.
Now y'all know where I get it from.
But you know what? But this the thing. This the thing I loved about it, right? It wasn't like a blind, blonde, just kind of silly rant. You know what I mean? Some people just come in and, oh, you're gonna do this and do that and so forth. He would call it out.
Yeah.
Surgically.
Yeah.
He would surgically call it out and hit it.
Yeah.
I mean, and man, we would just be sitting there like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like the what they call it, shadow projection. You know, when you kind of looking at somebody like, man, who do you think he is? And you saying that because you ain't that.
Yeah.
That's why you saying who you think he is.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell you learn from people like that, and what you learn from them, you carry that for the rest of your life, and then you have an obligation to pour it into the next generation. So, that's part of what I'm here to do, man. That's part of why we here.
Yeah. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode like I did. And we got to come back and do a part 2.
Hey, let's do it.
Yeah, because I feel like it's some things we really ain't get a chance to like really touch on for the interest of time. We got other folks we got to interview today.
Of course.
I probably shouldn't say that, but I don't care. This is my podcast. I say what the hell I want to say. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Yes, sir.
But you know what I'm saying? We'd love to have you. Also, come back to the bookstore, man.
Oh, certainly.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to try that out right there because I've been hearing
matcha?
about that. Yeah, I've been hearing about that
once
too.
matcha, they hear 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So
I
Tuesday,
just missed it.
Yeah, you just missed it. Tuesday
wow.
through Saturday.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate you, man.
And I apprate you
Yeah.
too. All right.
You got an awesome show here, man. So
I appreciate it.
I'm privileged,
All right.
man. I feel
Ricky,
great.
I'm done.
All right.
I'm ready to wrap this thing. Hey.